The Dean and Head of the School of Law at Liverpool Hope University. Professor, thank you very much for joining us. Good to have you here with us on TRT World. Now, let me begin by asking you about the migrant tragedy that took place in Greek waters. Now, Greece was basically alerted about the migrant boat, and that this is something that Frontex chief has recently confirmed. Yet, the Greek authorities failed in protecting the boat. And certainly this is not the first time something like this has happened. I'm not trying to play a blame game here over the tragic deaths of migrants, but do you think there is blame that should be associated with the Greek coast guards when it comes to the tragic deaths of these migrants?
Good evening, everybody. Well, obviously, it is a very tragic state of affairs because perhaps 700, 750 people have lost their lives. To blame the Greeks would be easy. There is no doubt that Frontex alerted the Greeks, and the evidence tends to suggest that it wasn't just Frontex, but also NGOs alerted them. The Greeks are claiming that they tried to help the vessel, but that they were turned away. So you take your pick and you believe who you believe. There's no doubt, though, that this is symptomatic, if you like, of a general attitude, a general prevailing attitude that's been in Greece now for a good 2 or 3 years, and which has also now emerged in Italy as well, which essentially is about pushing back, being reticent about helping people. So in a sense, this is a terrible tragedy, but it is a symptom of the deeper crisis that Europe is now facing on how to deal with migration.
Okay, Professor, let me ask you a very important question, because certainly the number of deaths that have taken place in the region is alarming and tragic, to say the least. So I have to ask, how many more migrants would have to die before Europe solves its migrant problem?
I think that my honest view is that a lot more people will die because Europe won't really get its act together until at least the middle of next year. And when the new policy, the new approach, supposedly a policy of solidarity but firmness, will come into effect. So as things presently stand, I just don't see us stopping this kind of event. The best hope, if I can continue for a moment, the best hope is to try and strike the kind of deal which the Italians, with the European Commission and the Dutch Prime Minister, struck with Tunisia the other day, which is about helping states like Tunisia and, of course, Libya. But Libya is a failed state. But helping those states shore up their capacity to control their frontiers, and then also investing in those countries as well as further afield, so that people won't find them the urge to move. But this approach, if I can just continue for a moment, the approach that is about deterring people, pushback and so on, our politicians must understand that they've got to balance fear of the xenophobes in our societies, those who are afraid of foreigners, and the fact that the desperate on God's earth will move regardless of the risk.
And you have basically just echoed what the United Nations has said. Basically, the UN says that there should be collaboration among the country of origin of these refugees, among the country of transit, and of course the destination country. And so far, unfortunately, we have not seen any significant collaboration among all these countries. And what really surprises me is the fact that in 2023, as we pointed out earlier, the irregular migration basically increased substantially. For example, EU countries recorded more than 50,000 irregular entries. So this is perhaps the highest figure since 2017. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think that, in fact, the overall increase is 12% to just over 100,000. It's the central Mediterranean, Tunisia, Libya, and now, of course, Egyptian, how can I put it, people smugglers are now assisting in the process, because you will have gathered, I'm sure, by the news that it was actually an Egyptian crew that did this. Look, the fact of the matter is that not only because of economic crises and war and so on. This is going to continue. It is not going to stop. It's not going to go away because, unfortunately, the kinds of crises that we are witnessing throughout the world you've only got to look at where these people come from. Afghanistan, Pakistan, Syria, that's, if you like, across the belly of the earth. If you look below the belly of the earth, then you've got sub-Saharan Africa and so on. So this is a major problem, and really, it's not going to go away. The world is not going to get better in the next year or two. So the crisis is going to continue. The key is joined-up thinking, sophisticated thinking, and actually our political leaders
Right.
really having to face their electorates and tell them the truth about this, and not, if you like, the problem with democracy is, if I can put it in these terms, is that you want to win elections. How do you win elections? By perhaps telling people you can deliver things that are very difficult to deliver, as we've discovered in the United Kingdom.
Right.
Which it's really a crisis that needs to be solved.
Indeed.
Otherwise, a lot of people are going to
And the key
die.
here is to work together in resolving this crisis. Professor Francesco Rizzuto, it's always a pleasure talking to you, sir. Thank you very much for talking to us here on TRT World.
Pleasure, pleasure.